In the budget speech, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has highlighted about the fiscal consolidation policy of India, and she has also highlighted that India will control its fiscal deficit by 5.1%, which has shocked many economic analysts because they had predicted more than 5.1%. Hello friends, welcome to the Economy Primer series of Drishti IAS. I am Ritu and today's session is about guarantee and how working group of RBI has advised the state guarantee. So moving towards the points of discussion part. First of all, we are going to discuss that why this particular topic is into the discussion. Then we are going to discuss what constitutes a guarantee. It means we'll have a brief idea about the guarantee, purpose of a guarantee, definition of a guarantee, that how its definition changing, and also what about the guidelines for guarantee, risk determination and fee ceiling about the guarantee, and also disclosure and honoring commitments related to the guarantee, and then we'll discuss practice question for prelims. So moving towards the discussion part. So on 16 January, we have seen that RBI has come up with the guidelines of its working group, and in 2022 a working group has been established by RBI. And who has established this particular working group? So RBI has established it, and who are the entities involved in it? So Ministry of Finance is involved in it, CAG is involved in it, and certain state governments are also involved in it. So in the Indian Express, we have studied an article, RBI's guideline on state guarantees on borrowing. So that's why we are discussing this topic. And in this working group, they have given certain recommendation, and they had highlighted that all the state government have a uniform kind of guarantee provision. So on which basis they had to become guarantor. So the working committee has highlighted all those points on which the state government had to work. So moving towards the introduction part. So what constitutes a guarantee? So what is a guarantee? So guarantee is a legal entity and legal obligation for a state to make payments when any investors and lenders comes to a defaulting position. Suppose that A has taken the money and they had to pay to certain loans, but they are on the defaulting sides. So in such situation, the state becomes the guarantee and guarantors, and they provide and they help to the A to fulfill its loan. So this is called as a guarantee, and as per the Indian Contracts Act, it is a contract to perform the promise or discharge the liability of a third person. So this is a brief definition of the guarantee, and it has a three parties involved in it. The first is the principal debtor, the second is the creditor, and the third is the surety. So who is the creditor here? The guarantee is given is the creditor. So the whom the guarantee is given is called as a creditor. The defaulting entity on whose behalf the guarantee is given is called as a principal debtor, and the entity giving is the guarantee is called as what you can say surety. So here the state government is giving the guarantee, so they are called as the surety. So this is the brief definition about the guarantee. Moving to the another slide. So another slide is about that what is the purpose of guarantee, why state government gives guarantee and why they become a guarantor. So for certain socio-economic development, socio-economic benefits, the state has to become guarantor, and they become guarantor for the public sector enterprises. Here the RBI guideline has also involved that private sector should not involved in it, and the state should not become guarantor of the private institution. So this is the thing. So to improve the viability of the project activities, the state becomes the guarantee, and also to enable the public sector enterprises to raise resources at a lower interest. So in such situation, the state has to become the guarantor, and also where a sovereign guarantee is a precondition or concessional loan. So in such situation, the state government has to behave as a guarantor. So this is the purpose of the state to becoming as a guarantor. Moving to the next slide. Definition of a guarantee. So we already had discussed that what is a guarantee. It is a legal contract, and it is also called as that when a party is into the difficulty or default of the payment, the state becomes guarantor there and they prevent them for the defaulting. So we already have studied it in a lay person's language. But RBI's guidelines, the working committee has extended the guidelines, and they had said that its definition may be extended and it could be interpreted in a different way. It depends on how you take it. And they had also suggested that if the state create obligation of the guarantor to make payments on behalf of the borrowers of a future date, in such situation, it is known as the guarantee. And they had also says that it must take any distinction between the conditional or unconditional and financial or performance. So here the state has to make distinction between the conditional, unconditional. Suppose that if you are becoming a guarantor for a particular thing, then you have to be very clear about the conditional approach. What are the conditions to become guarantor here? What are the unconditions we have? What are the financial repercussions we have? What are the promises you have made? So the working committee had said that you have to be very clear about all these aspects, and in the definition of guarantee you have to inculcate all these points. And so this is the all these points will prevent any state to from the potential future risk. So that's why the working committee has extended that you have to include all these points in the definition of the guarantee. Moving to the next slide. Next slide is about what about the guidelines for recording guarantee. So what guidelines they have given? So the first guidelines they have given about that it should not be used to obtain finance. So as you know that its main purpose that if any entity is into difficulty, in such situation the state governments become the guarantee. So that should not be made as a purpose of that finance, that you can take finances like this. There are different methods to take finances from the state, but this should not be the method to take finances from the state. In case of the rare condition or in case of any unavoidable circumstances, you have to use this method. And the second thing is also that Government of India guidelines that stipulates the guarantees be given only to the principal amount and underlying loan. So here you have to also decide that what is the principal amount here. So you have to be also very careful according to the, and then you have to also certify the preconditions and what are the risks involved in it, what are the role of government's guarantee approach here, and it should not be extended to the private institution. So these are the guidelines which RBI working committee has highlighted, and in this manner the state has to become and the state has to behave as a guarantor. Moving to the next slide. So next slide is about what about the risk determination, fee and ceiling. So the RBI working committee has also focused on the risk and fee and ceiling, that they have to determine that what would be the ceiling, and for the state they have determined that it should not exceed 5% of the revenue received or 0.5% of the GSDP, whichever is the less. So they had issued these guidelines, and also they had to also manage that it should not burden on the fiscal state, because we are discussing about the fiscal consolidation and how to lower the fiscal burden of the states. And in such situation, if the state will become guarantor for many entities, then it will have a fiscal burden on the state. So the state have to also look care of its finances, and it should be in a desirable condition. And also there should be the categorization of the risk like high, medium, low risk, so that the state can determine their principal amount accordingly. And they had to also take care of the risk weights. So what risks are involved, and on the basis of that they have to fund and they had to become guarantor for the subject. But this should not be a funding authorities. This should be only used in a rare circumstances. So the RBI has issued such kind of the guidelines and put ceilings on the state governments. Moving to the next slide. Next slide is about what about the disclosures and honoring commitments. So here they had advised the banks and NBFCs to disclose the credit extended to the state-owned entities. It means that the state-owned entities take what you can say loans from various banks. So they had to disclose all their credits, that how much credit they have taken from the bank, and also data should be maintained from the state side also, and also the public sector enterprises, that if they are in condition to take a defaulter or not. If state becomes guarantor for a particular project, then the state should also have a data about the particular enterprises, that they are not regular defaulters. So in such situation they have to also take care of the data. And here RBI has also issued a guidelines for both issuer and the lender. So here who will be the lender? So public sector enterprises would be the lender and the banks are the issuer. So they both have to maintain transparent data from each other, and that should be disclosed to the RBI and also to the state government. And after analyzing all those situations, the state will decide that how much principal amount they have to recover as a guarantor. So this would be the guidelines. And also the sanctity issued to guarantee resulting the reputational risk. Suppose that if state becomes guarantor for a particular project, and if state is not fulfilling and helping that particular project enterprises in their tough times and they become defaulter, and if state is unable to pay their risk also, so in that situation there is a harm on the state, the reputational harms. So in all these situations, the state has to analyze that how to prevent from the reputational harms, and state should not behave as a defaulter in this situation, and the state must think about the issuing of the fresh finances, and the bank should also think about the issuing of the fresh finances. So this is a brief about the guarantee and what are the guidelines we have. Moving to the question part. So the question is related to the guarantee, and the first statement is, a guarantee is a legal obligation for a state to make payments and protect an investor. And the second statement is, it is a contract to perform the promise or discharge the liability of a third person in case of his default. And here they are asking the not correct statement, so you can answer accordingly. These are the options you have. So I hope you like this session. If you have any queries related to this session, kindly ask in the comment section. Before that, you have to like, share and subscribe to the Drishti IAS channel. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.